Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining and for this second session of the morning in the CGIAR booth. This session will be about bridging Genebanks and communities. We'll have 1.5 hours. We'll go into the depth of integrated conservation. And for us, integrated conservation means looking for alliances between the on-farm conservation, the diversity in the hands of the farmers, and the gene banks. No, for many years we have been talking about dynamic conservation, complementary conservation, and we know that there are many things that are different between gene banks and in situ conservation, but the two are kind of the two wings of the eagle. No, they're kind of the two sides of the coin. And it's really important, as we also noticed throughout all the sessions here at the COP16, that these two systems communicate better, integrate better, and collaborate better. No? On the one hand, we have the in situ collections or the in situ conservation, which is dynamic, it's evolving, it's also embedded into society. We have traditional knowledge that is linked and that can often only be maintained in the context of the local culture. On the other hand, for any disasters or for any climate change, we also need to conserve the diversity ex-situ. No? But since the Convention on Biological Diversity, basically since 1942, a lot of the dialogue between the communities and the gene banks has become more difficult. No? On the one hand, there is the expectation from the communities and the government to have better access and benefit sharing arrangements and to really put farmers' rights into practice. On the other hand, the CGIAR and also through the Global Diversity Trust, the Crop Trust, there have been many studies on so-called gap analysis that have shown that there is also still considerable gaps in the ex-situ collections. So that better dialogue we need to have, and it needs to evolve around basically around 4 pillars that we will explore in more depth today. One of those pillars is the continuous flow of materials between ex-situ and in-situ communities. The second pillar is really integrating knowledge, scientific or formal knowledge, indigenous and local knowledge, and how can we have the dialogue between those two types of knowledge. The third pillar is about diversity monitoring. No? How do we take the pulse of diversity in the field, and how can we track, just like other communities do for bird life or for wildlife, how can we track the ongoing evolution of diversity in the field? And the fourth pillar is what we sometimes refer to as benefit sharing or farmers' rights, but really having good examples of how we actually put that into practice, because often there's a huge gap between the good intentions of the policies, and here we also hear a lot about benefit sharing and farmers' rights, but does it really reach those communities where we have the custodians? No, and as the community here we have people working in the room also on gene banks, we have people in the room working on-farm conservation. I think it's part of our role to give good examples of how we can really make that bridge, no? That bridge between those who want to fund and the needs of the communities that we work with. So without further ado, a little bit about how the session is organized. We will have about 45 minutes, the first half of the session, where we will hear presentations and different experiences and perspectives. And we will start with a keynote from SIP, from the International Potato Center, but then we will move on to an experience from Colombia, from agrobiodiversity. Then we'll move on to an experience from Peru, from INIA, and its work with the communities, and we'll move on to the Alliance CGIAR Biodiversity and their experience in this topic. Then we'll see a short movie, and after the movie we'll open it up for a panel discussion that I will first facilitate, but then we'll open it up for any questions or any contributions from people in the room. So I'm Stef de Haan, I work with the International Potato Center, and I will be facilitating this session. And I would hereby like to invite then Julian Soto, who will be the first speaker. He will provide us with some examples of the work at the International Potato Center. And Julian is a biologist. He has studied at the San Marcos University in Peru, is currently enrolled in doing a PhD at the Agrarian University in La Molina. And he's been working for many years at CIP, is the curator of the cultivated potato collection and also the wild potato collection. Julian has many collaborations with communities, including working together with the agrobiodiversity zones in Cuyo, in southern Peru, in the Puno region. So please, Julian, go ahead.
Thank you, Steph. Let's see, how is it? Okay. So I just present a little examples of what CIP is doing to integrate Genebanks activities and in-situ conservation. First, this scheme is what Steph is still talking about, the 4 pillars, how they are integrated in the system of conservation. The Genebanks, the activities that refers to the material conserved in the banks, the information that we obtain, and how we can transfer to agriculture in a reciprocal way. For the other hand, we have the in-situ sites, where it's a different type of observation that we try to looking for or see in a scale way, from genes to cultivar, species, field, and also in regions like hotspot. And these 2 big sites are integrate or interact with different baseline data sets, data platforms, and also decision supports, and the actions from example from repatriation, incorporation of material, and what talking also Steph, that is important, the benefit sharings, farmer rights, and community and education, all integrate in a one big system that we are right now calling integrated conservation. One of the first examples that we can talk about is the dynamic conservation. The diversity in the farm in the Andes is not static; it's dynamic, and we can see that with that study of monitoring a collection in a Paucartambium region. It's in Cusco, Peru. When in different times that was collected the material, they identified the number change. Especially, they found that the diversity increased, but not the same materials that was collected previously. For example, in Vargas, in the forest, still in the present, just a little bit the half of that material. So the diversity changed, but also increased in the time. Also, interesting result is that the point of elevations, altitudes change in the time. Yeah? So the diversity is dynamic. That was the result of this work. Let's see where. Just only to mention, 67 varieties persist from the collection of Vargas from the 90s. So that's 8 decades that this material maintained in that community, but the rest of material will be changing. So that confirms the diversity is always in dynamic process. Another interesting work is the activity that we made in the potato park. Potato park is one of the first models of conservation, in-situ conservation, that we are working with them. So right now, mainly activities that's a combination of morphological and molecular characterization with tradition and knowledge, capacity building on in vitro management of plants, because this group of farmers are now in the moment to transform his conservation, just not only traditional, also with in vitro conservation, that they have to be producer of seeds and multiply and distribute seeds from the other communities. Right now they are in that capacity. So we are trying to make the capacity building from, they try to incorporate the in vitro technology as part of this conservation. Also, we evaluate different type of effects of climate change monitoring the health of the repatriated material that we send, and make different research, for example, effects of calcium in soils. So all these activities is made with the farmers and with associations like Andes Association and CIP. We repatriate a lot of materials to potato park because they request us every year, every time, because they need distribute the material from other communities. They're a focal point from the Andes to distribute native potato in a clean, like a clean material. Another thing that is a huge impact in the gene bank and is a lot of request material is repatriation. That is the return the varieties from the origin regions. We make that from 20 years repatriation from different farmers in Peru. The general plant flow is from both ways. We send material and sometimes they send us to conserve the material. We repatriate more than 25,000 of potatoes samples in all of 20 years. So it's a lot. Also, in our research that we made with all the communities that we repatriate, we found that a third of all participants, farmers, continue to conserve the repatriated varieties. So the varieties is still in fields. Women and people older than 60 years with higher education level and more food insecurity terms tend to preserve landrace longer. Younger male households, 20 years, less than 20 years, tend to abandon. So the young people is not too many interest to maintain the varieties. Farmer knowledge increase food security, diversity in potato taste and texture. This means that farmers select the material from flavor. That's the main selection from them. And the result of this work is that the repatriation potatoes contribute to the conservation of potato diversity and maintain the traditional knowledge. Now, also, we are trying to combine the traditional knowledge in situ conservation and the modern technologies, like these the molecular markers. That is something that we make this research with the farmers of Aguapam from the region of Pasco and Lima in Peru. They send us his collections, his materials from conservation in situ. We first make the characterization at level of morphological to identify the different levels of materials, and then we make the molecular analysis with the DNA. We identified unique varieties from these materials, and these unique varieties will introduce to the in vitro collection to conserve and to clean it. What we obtain from this research, the farmers send us 1,075 different land rates from 14 farmers, and we compare with a collection of more than 4,000 gene bank accessions. What you see in that ring is all the SIP collection, and also where is each of these in situ varieties placed in the collection. So we can now identify which varieties that they maintain are or not in the collection of SIP. From this, we identified 41 unique accessions from Pasco and 47 unique accessions from Sierra Lima. And these 88 accessions right now are introduced to the in vitro collection and cleaned and conserved. Integrated conservation is win-win to farmers and from gene bank. This model will be replicated from the other Aguapam regions, and also we are trying to replicate this in another programs. This is just an official ceremony with the farmers from Pasco and Lima and other groups of Aguapam and gene bank to show the results and a symbolic receipt of the introduction of these materials. That was a huge event, and it's a good opportunity where also the research, the gene banks, and communities know what we can obtain with all of the results of research. We are trying to imitate this model, but right now with INEA, with the government, with national institution. We are make this. We are working in the first agrobiodiversity zone, and then is the Cuyo, who is in Puno, who is the south region of Peru, and we are focused on characterization the diversity, the in-situ diversity, with molecular, morphological, and also nutritional, with all the local varieties that we try to identify. Also, we want to repatriate material to recover or restore the diversity, and try to initiate a pre-breeding program from local varieties. And from the results, if we identify unique varieties, incorporate to in vitro and then to cryopreservation. And finally, produce a catalog from the diversity of the varieties of the regions of Andenes de Cuyo to improve, to promote the agrobiodiversity zone, and also to recognize the diversity of the region. We are training in morphological characterization with the farmers. We identify the varieties of the region right now. We identify 14 conserved farmers, and at the moment, from 654 local varieties that we registered, we identified 228 varieties as unique, just only for morphological characterization. We are still pending the molecular characterization and see what really are unique or not unique. And finally, we are start to restoring the genetic diversity by repatriating different varieties from the region. From the moment, from the first years of repatriation, we repatriate more than 200 accessions from the region, from 6 to the 6 communities that belong to the agrobiodiversity zone. Another interesting model is the Aguapan model. This is a custodian network and model for benefit sharing, a voluntary benefit sharing scheme, self-determination and tangible options to implement farmer rights, zero overhead, 100% found management by the custodian themselves. That's a very interesting point. Also, they have health funds, young programs, and e-commerce pilots. So they are trying to move on, just not only to be custodians. Support groups to provide advice. There is some like a SIP or Genebanks. Annual assemblies to let exchange and public incidents. They also, it's a model that is recognized from different organizations all over the world. So it's a very huge model, and we have a lot of potential to increase the accession, the region that participates. In 21, we have 7, and right now there are from 9 regions that participate in Aguapan, and try to increase more in the next years. Another important tool is the catalogs. These catalogs promote the diversity, promote the region, the diversity of the region, and also is a way that you can record the traditional knowledge, not only the diversity, also the traditional knowledge. And this initiative is being replicated in different other countries, Chile, Ecuador, Bolivia, for potato and other crops such as quinoa. Another tool, another strategy is the citizen science for conservation monitoring. One of the activities or tools is use of this Bioscope app, when the citizens, everyone can record by a photo different varieties of potato, in different contexts, in different activities, and this record will help us to monitoring the diversity in time, in vivo, in different regions, and try to attract to the young people, because the apps, the use of phones is more from young people, and that is the way what we're trying to do. And all this information go to a website, Wikipapa, where we can monitoring, checking all the diversity that is will record with this bar scope or application. So for us, for the research, it's interesting to try to monitoring and see how is the diversity moving in the different regions. There's a lot of looks, support and expanded network of system monitoring, support and strength autonomous conservation, restoring genetic resource, support in situ conservation, increase public engagement in strange zones, and integrate dialogues, raise awareness of agrobiodiversity value. That's important to mention here. Finally, we have the guardian and the Papas Nativas, Los Guardianes de Papas Nativas. This is a contest, national contest, that this is another initiative to the young people involved in the conservation of the tubers and in the Andean region, no? Especially the young people. It was focused on science club or school, primary or secondary, and the impact in the region was very successful. Right now they have the premiation from this contest. I think this is the first one, and we expected that for the next version of this contest, we increase the numbers of participants in the all different regions. If I remember, there was around 7 regions that participates, and around more than 300 participants from this all over these regions. So all of these activities is part of the integrated conservation. Is an effort of different teams, mainly different colleagues from CIP, Genebanks, Andean Initiative, Associate Andes, Potato Park communities, and agrobiodiversity zones community, INIA, Grupo de Yanapay, Aguapan, and another communities all around the world that are very interested in work in this integrated type of conservation, in situ and ex situ. Yeah, that is participative. Yeah, I don't know if it's time.
Yes, thank you. Okay. So thank you, Julian, to give a kind of a bird's eye overview of one case from the perspective of an international gene bank and its work in Peru, together with national partners and multiple stakeholders that you mentioned. For the next session, I would like to invite Olga Janet Perez. Ella, or she is a researcher at Agrosavia, working for a long time on conservation. She has done her PhD also on agrobiodiversity in the Santa Anna School University in Italy. And Olga is working very actively also on this link between in situ and ex situ through the national program here in Colombia. So please go ahead. Olga.
Thank you. Thank you, Steph. And thank you very much for the invitation. Okay. Start. Okay. So, listening to Julian, I was thinking, maybe is this our future? We are following your path, so maybe we can do all the things that you are doing now. And I think it's really special for us to know the things that you have achieved, but also the things that we can improve, maybe, for our knowledge, and also for the type of communities that we are working with. No? Un momento. Okay. Okay, I will start. Yes. So, yes, okay, it's me. So, I have just 5 minutes, so I think I will be really fast about this topic. I will show the case of Cumbal Nariño, that it's the community, the indigenous community that we are working currently. Also, as we were seeing before in the previous event, Agrosavia holds the National Germplasm Bank, Genebank, and it's all around the country. Oh, no, you cannot see there. So, sorry. And also holds not just the plant gene bank, also the animal and the microorganism gene bank. And we are all around Colombia, and we have more than 275 species. One of the collections that we love the most are the potato collection, you can see there. And we conserve this collection in vitro, ex-situ in field, and also you can see here the variety or variability of our potatoes. This, as Julian was saying before, give us the opportunity to know all about all these accessions. We can have all the characterization and all the knowledge that we can use for like breeding or some other things. But something that also I think we were missing is that the agrobiodiversity is not just the genes and the accessions, but also the knowledge around these accessions. And this knowledge is maintained by the communities on farm, no? in their land. So here it's more or less the same thing that we see before that Steph has developed in nature also. And it's how in situ, on farm conservation, it's connected with ex-situ conservation, and how all these things are related, and how we can improve one from another, as Julian was explaining before. So I'm not going too far in this. Something that we want to say is that we are using now the word rematriation, that it's a word that maybe it's not the same as repatriation, because we were thinking not only that we are giving back the accessions or the material to the Pachamama, to the Mother Earth, but also because most of the knowledge and the people that are maintaining more these accessions are women. So we are using this word to like show that it's not coming back to the Pachamama, but also to the women that are maintaining these germ plants for a long, long time. So we started to work, thanks to Nature Positive, the initiative with CGIAR and CIP. We start to work in the ethnic community de los Pastos, and the Resguardo Indígena de Cumbal is the south of Colombia, very close to the border with Ecuador. This is a community that is in the hotspot, so they know what they have. But they maybe are not really aware that they have so many things that they can share with the whole world, and they are not very organized. They have so many small associations, but they have, like Julian was telling before, for example, Aguapan. They have reunite many small associations to combine in a big association that will have more power and will have maybe a political or maybe something more for them, not just like, it's like I would say in Spanish, se va más lejos solo, pero no, se va más rápido solo, pero se va más lejos acompañado. Okay. So when we start to work with this community, the first thing that we wanted to do was not just to arrive and say, we are going to do this and that. So we start to co-create with them. They tell us, or told us where were their expectations. So they were saying, okay, we need to rescue our ancestral practices. We are losing that because we are using now the more technical techniques or applying so many pesticides and these things. They also wanted to multiply the access or the material that they have in the of roots and tubers, Andean roots and tubers. Also, they wanted to implement conservation practices. Why? Because Cumbal, it's a volcano, and it's more than 4,700 meters. And you know that in Colombia, in these areas, we have páramos that are our water produce land. So we have to keep them. And they are very close to them. And they have been there for hundreds and thousands of years. But they want also to maintain these areas, and they want some new practices or good practices to conserve this environment. Also, they want to enhance the capabilities of the youth and children, because now we will see why, and promote the exchange of products. They were their expectations. So when we start to work in the initiative Nature Positive, okay, this is a very very small part of all the work that we have been doing. We made first the household surveys, and some of the, we have so many information, so I can talk many hours about that. But one of the things that we said, that we saw, is that custodians are old, and many of them, they don't have children, or their children have been now in other cities, and they are not interested in conserve. So I will show what we found and how we are now doing to improve what we found. So in this case, we are trying to involve the students. We have a very close relationship with a school that is called El Cumbe. It's an indigenous agricultural school. And we are involving all the students in the conservation, the characterization. So they are starting to understand that they have a treasure. We are always saying that. They have a treasure in their hands. And also strengthening custodians and small farmers associations, because maybe one is old, but someone that is younger could follow the steps, and we think it's really important. Also, we are doing many of the things that Julian was saying about the citizen science and all these things that also are involved in the Nature Positive initiative. When we start also to see all the status of conservation, we found out that this is a very interesting area. We have more than 150 native varieties of potato. It's a hotspot of the biodiversity, so it's really important to maintain this area. Most of them are in risk because there are so few families in small areas that are maintaining these potatoes. So maybe if they have some threat, these potatoes will be lost. And some other lost varieties that they want to obtain again. So we are using all this information that we have from characterization and all these things that we are doing now to, in the future, to the reintroduction, the repatriation or rematriation, and also give an use of this material and added value also for benefit sharing, like we were saying before. Something that we do that is really important for this area, that I said before, we are in a páramo area. So there are so many risks now that are not just for the agrobiodiversity, but also for biodiversity, that is like climate change, mainly drought and frost, new pests and diseases, in our case is potato purple top, that it's threatening all these potatoes, not just the native, but all of them. And also we have a specific problem in this area, that is the dairy cattle that are just displacing, you say that, all the potato area, and they are also going up to the páramo. So what we are doing, we are co-creating with them trying to combine their traditional knowledge with the technical knowledge to mitigate this risk. So this is one thing that we are doing, because the risk is not just for the agrobiodiversity, it's also for all the biodiversity and also for the traditional knowledge. So we want to improve that, because as I said before, agrobiodiversity is not just the germ plants or the gene banks, it's also the traditional knowledge around it. So we have here some of these beautiful potatoes that we have found there. So, nice picture. And also, Agrosavia is not just working in nature positive initiative, but also we have some other initiatives that have been maybe not framed in the integrated conservation, but also in some other projects that we have been doing, like local and community seed banks. We are working now in La Guajira and some other places in Colombia. Recovery of varieties, cleaning these varieties that people wanted to have again, like Liborino beans in Antioquia, the rematriation of maize in Putumayo, and also strengthening seed custodians in Cauca. So now Agrosavia has this program, or want to have this program, to involve all the integrated conservation, not just for the thing that we are doing now in Cumbal, but for the whole country. So that's it. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic, and this was a really good example of one national program and how this approach is also expanding within the context of the public sector, no? And we've seen also this week the support that this gets from the Vice Minister and the Minister of Agriculture. So I think Agrosavia is really on top of the game to move this forward. So let's move a bit to the south. Now we go to Peru. I think between Peru and Colombia, there's a lot of experience to be shared. I would like to invite Dina Gutierrez. Dina Gutierrez is the Director General of the Directorate of Genetic Resources and Biotechnology of INIA, the national program in Peru. And she has done her PhD in Louisiana State University in the US. She works a lot on in-situ conservation and ex-situ conservation, and is also spearheading the novel model of the agrobiodiversity zones in Peru. No, please go ahead, Dina. Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation to participate in this side event. So the Ministry of Agrarian Development and Irrigation, through the National Institute of Agrarian Innovation, have developed several strategies for conservation and sustainable use of the resources for agrobiodiversity. Well, as was mentioned by Julian, and also different strategies developed by Agrosavia, which is very interesting and very important to integrate what we are doing through the gene banks and also with a different strategy for in-situ conservation. Well, first, INIA Peru, the National Institute of Agrarian Innovation, have the gene bank collection of Peru that have 26 crops, 56 collections of different crops around Peru. We have 25 experimental stations and the headquarters of INIA Peru. And in this 56 collection, we have maintained around 22,000 accessions and involved around 335 species. We have different conservation systems in field, seeds, and in vitro. I don't know. The information of our gene bank, you can find in the platform Gene Bank Peru. where we have available around 8,996 accessions that they have been created, and all the information you can find there. This is just the website, and also an email if you need additional information for these accessions. So we have the collections, as I mentioned before, and seed bank, and also in vitro, and in vitro conservation. It's important also to make it public what the research that we are doing through different catalog and descriptors of the different crops that we are managing at INEA. Well, also as a strategy for in-situ conservation, we have developed the agrobiodiversity zones. This is recognized by the Ministry of Agrarian Development and Irrigation. So, but what is agrobiodiversity zone? There are geographic area, richness in agrobiodiversity, native crops, native breedings, and associated also with wild species with potential use in agriculture. At the moment, we have 10 agrobiodiversity zones recognized by the ministry, and all of them are in the Andean region of Peru. So here we have the first agrobiodiversity zone, and then is the Cuyocuyo in Puno. We have Parque de la Papa in Cusco, Collasuyo, Marca Patacoyana, also in Cusco, Pariahuanca in Junín, Paimaquis, Andahuaylas, and Circa in Apurímac, and Paimaquis, El Área in Huancavelica, and Cotahuasi in Arequipa, Ayacucho. So these 10 agrobiodiversity zones include 51 peasant communities or native communities, around 9,000 varieties of local crops, 361 traditional knowledge, and approximately 1,097 hectares for the conservation and sustainable use of native agrobiodiversity. You can find also the information of these 10 agrobiodiversity zones in the platform South Peru. Well, the first question is how we can integrate and how dynamic is the interaction between in-situ conservation and ex-situ conservation. So as I mentioned by Julian also, here we have the Genebanks collections that we'll try to manage and monitor in nature habitats. So from here, we have to characterize them at different levels, our morphological level, molecular level, and nutritional level. But this also working together with the native community is very important because this with this agrobiodiversity zone, we also focus the aspect of social, economic, cultural, and also we try to improve the living condition of these people that for many years has been conserved these native materials. For in-situ conservation, we are working this material, doing characterization, and we have unique species, unique varieties, so they will be integrated in the ex-situ conservation by seed banks or by in vitro culture conservation. And also, as ex-situ, there are some needs also for repatriation, as I mentioned, Julian, or repatriation as the strategy that has been developed at AgroSavvy in Colombia. So we restored this material to the native communities. But it's necessary also because to different climate change and adverse conditions, so we are losing part of that diversity. So it's very strategic to integrate and be more dynamic these two types of conservation. And also this dynamic is through research. How can use these accessions of variety in agriculture, and also how technology integrated also with traditional knowledge can be generated to do capacity building. is very important to focus in youth and in children. So to maintain this traditional knowledge to continue and also integrate with new technologies, but it's a work that we have to be do together with the native communities for the indigenous people. Well, thank you, and this is just experiences that we have developed in Peru.
Again, more fantastic examples, and please, I'm sure there are many questions and many people who want to ask more, but keep your questions till the next session. We'll now go on to, again, we go back to an international gene bank perspective. I'd like to invite Marcela Santaella. She's the Gene Bank Operations Manager at CIAT, and she's done a lot of her research and studies initially here in Colombia, then went to the Max Planck Institute for Plant Breeding in Germany, and in 2017 came back again, being rematriated to CIAT, no, and to do the day-to-day operations at the CIAT Gene Bank. Yeah.
Thank you, Steph. Well, I'm very happy to be here and share also some of the views on this very needed topic. I did not have a presentation, but since everyone was so visual, I decided to at least show a little bit of the gene bank. This is Future Seeds. It's actually a new house for the international global collections stored at CIAT in Palmira, and we have the global and diverse collections of 3 important crops, mainly beans, tropical forages, and also cassava. Future Seeds is the new home, inaugurated in 2022. We were very busy just keeping track and conserving approximately 66,000 different accessions, and also being able to have a steady state infrastructure that is also coping with the zero challenges of net water and also energy from renewable sources. I think I'm moving this, not knowing. So this is a little view of the new home, but it's, as I mentioned, the story of the gene bank relates back to the ends of 1970s. And we have mainly 3 pillars within the gene bank that we, in the process of building these new facilities, we also dedicated for, of course, conserve the diversity of these 3 crop collections, but also discover and therefore innovate with new techniques to know more about the potential use of these varieties, these accessions. And finally, and more concrete, involve not only scientists, as we've done over the past 45 years, but also the community and young generations, and also farmers included. We've done not much in this topic, but definitely is the next step. So this is an overview of the 3 collections, very important, not only for Latin America, of course, but also in Africa and Asia as well. Cassava, beans, and tropical forages. And then, of course, our mission is to make these collections available to the world as in-trust material for the countries. And in the past 45 years or so, we have done it with 500,000 samples sent to more than 140 countries. Sorry. Why we needed like a new infrastructure, a new house for the collections? Mainly is because we have visitors already around 5,000 a year and expected to grow from many different countries, nationalities, and also institutions. And therefore, Future Seeds have the available space not only for hosting our visitors and interested parties on genetic resources, but also to perform combined and also joint efforts in capacity building and training. If you want to visit, and this is more inspirational, you can also follow this link, and we have a new virtual tour that you can do and join us in this effort. That's the starting. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we move to the panel discussion, we'll see a short movie. It's a 4-minute movie that was done by CNN with a program called Call to Earth, and it again it goes back to some of the work in Peru with communities. So 4 minutes, and we'll go back to the panel discussion.
Peru is the center of origin of potato. The third
Okay, let's keep it till later. Apparently it doesn't work, so I'll invite all the
most important
speakers.
staple.
I'll invite the speakers to maybe come forward, and if there is time at the end, we can still have the video. While you maybe look for the right one, we can see if it works. So I actually had a large list of questions, or large list. I had a question for each of you prepared, but maybe I'll do it the other way around. Maybe I'll just open up first for the floor, because I saw already some people anxious to ask questions. And we also took a little bit more time with the presentations, which was really worth it, I think, to go a little bit more in depth in each of the cases. And yeah, so let's maybe open up first for the audience if there's any questions here.
Okay, thank you very much all. It's good and insight bringing presentation you made to us, and I would like to appreciate that all. So the issue of conserving seeds of different crop species is undertaken in any part of the world. And this local material, conserving local material, using local material in the modern farming system has different challenges. And one of the challenges is the push from the formal seed system, basically the extension system in my country and where I work, basically, little recognize the importance of local materials conserved at the farmer's hand, and to the extent it also induces a pressure not to commercialize, not to use these materials, because the formal seed sector is heavily subsidized by the extension system. These ones are not. So how you observe the existence of such challenge in your case, and how you overcome, if it exists, to promote the use of local seed materials and conserve them with the engagement of scientists as well as local communities, is my question. Thank you.
Okay, excellent questions. Maybe we take 2 questions and then or 3. Yeah, who wants to go?
Yes, thank you, Stefan. Thank you all for the nice presentations. I would like to ask particularly those of you who work on in-situ conservation, on-farm conservation, if you have seen any increase or decrease in international support for this kind of work, and how international initiatives and international centers are becoming more or less active in this area based on your own experience.
Excellent question. I think there was one more.
Just regarding the in-situ conservation as well, you mentioned that there are some limitations in terms of the persons, that the farmers that are maintaining the the plots, and I was just wondering, like, what is being the most effective way to ensure that the youth would preserve this in situ collections in the future?
Okay, I will start with your question. Okay, I don't know where your country is. Ah, okay, perfect. Ethiopia, yes. Ethiopia is also a hotspot of biodiversity. So, when yes, we have also here all the seed system, and it's a very important way to produce crops, because we have to eat something. But also we are really interested in maintain our diversity, because in that diversity, as Julian was saying before, we can also hold all the genes that will keep us with food in the future because of the climate change and all the things. So we try to maintain also the seed production, but improve the native seed production to keep these new genes that are more useful for the future, for climate change, for all the things that maybe are coming. And I think we need to maintain that and try to keep all the things like working together. I would say that.
Yeah, it's also you have to change the vision, because in Andean farmers, they have two ways to work. Farmer crops or varieties that are for commercial purpose, breeding varieties, local breeding varieties, or native varieties but have a good production, a good request in market. So they produce that in a common way. That is like a high production. Also, we are not talking about hectares. We are talking about few fields, because the farmers don't have a lot of hectares. So this is the type of production from farmers. It's a very low level production, but this is for market. This is another way. They have these native varieties that's for his family, for food security. This is the different way, and the important is more from the community, from the families. And they don't distribute it, just only multiplied in a mixed way that they call the shajo, to avoid the reduction of diversity. They planted the mix to try to maintain all the diversity, and they keep it from them. So they have two different purposes. That you are talking about is more from the first one, that's the production, and it's the move like the other, like the common way. So is that the difference in these farmers, Andean farmers especially, for traditional crops? Mm-hmm.
Just want to continue answer your question. Yes, usually also, as Julian mentioned, the way also to put in value this native potato variety is through fairs. All the farmers goes to the fairs and they exchange materials, and they also invite the general consumers also to get these native materials, so to motivate the production and also keep maintaining through this traditional knowledge of different methodologies that they follow, but just it's through fairs.
Perhaps to contribute a bit, you have cultures in different countries, right? And it might not work the same in one country and another. I think we are learning a lot from your experience, the panelists, the colleagues. But there also to bring value to these land races, these native lines. So what we are doing is, whenever we have a request from the Genebank from a specific region within a country, we try to kind of repatriate the diversity that we conserve from that region. Probably they are not really aware, but it's a suggestion among the 60,000 different varieties they could look for. We try to prioritize those that were originally 30 years coming from that region. However, they might also be interested in other varieties which are high yielding or highly resistant to different diseases. So that's also included. But we try to say, well, you know, you have this land race that was collected from your region. It might be good that you know it, or if you don't know it, perhaps that you try to know it. So I think we can learn a lot and go together as joint forces to keep the value of these native varieties and then increase the gaps that we miss in the ex-situ conservation.
Okay, let's also move on with the other questions, which are also very pertinent, no? And maybe I could have a first go as well. I think in the case of the youth, I think that is the big question as well. Look, like where should we focus our efforts? Everybody's worried about climate change, but what will be quicker? No, what will have more effect on genetic erosion, the intergenerational change or the climate change? In a certain sense, that we have to be more intelligent about that. I think we've seen so many examples of youth engagement, and that's really inspiring, like curriculum development, the hypothesis that bringing technologies to the school and working on citizen science and with applications will create interest, school gardens and involving them in documenting the diversity, intercultural dialogues with the parents. No, but your question specifically, I think, about what is more effective, we don't know yet. No, we have to look at it. Maybe it's also a basket of options approach. And yeah, about Isabel's question, I think as well, like the funding has always been so low for in-situ and on-farm conservation, insufficient vastly compared to ex-situ conservation. It has always been so difficult to find resources for this type of work, and it's the typical type of work where a 2-3 year project is not enough. You need a long-term vision, no, if you want to monitor and conserve diversity in the field. So you also need to have a long-term perspective. Hopefully, after this COP, where so many donors and different organizations have been talking, no, hopefully I feel there is a bit of traction now, but hopefully I don't know if that will materialize in investment. It's already really good that ministers and vice ministers are talking about this, and so hopefully yeah, also that will materialize in funding. I don't know if anyone wants to follow up or react on this as well. No.
Just to add that we need more more funding. Yes, I think not just for this integrated conservation, but also to maintain the communities alive there. So I think it's really important.
Another question? Another comment.
Right, Marlene Ramirez from the Alliance of Biodiversity and CIAT, and it's a comment. I think that we are all here converted, and we would like to see more support for in-situ on-farm conservation, and I think that this COP has provided us with an opportunity to give more visibility. Now, from that to political action and resources, there's a space there. We are all hopeful, but we can also need to do a lot more to continue with the visibility. And just to mention that we are co-organizing the next International Agrobiodiversity Congress next year in China, in April, May, so that it is another event to really give visibility to all these efforts that we didn't have them before. So just that.
Excellent comments, and continue to provide visibility is important. Here we've seen it, and also next year the International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. Will convene the meeting with all the countries in Peru. So another great opportunity to have visibility. Norma, you wanted to ask a question?
Yes, I have another question. Is that there is, based on all of the presentation that you made, a great benefit in between working together in situ and ex situ conservation strategies, isn't it? We conserve more diversity, we give access to that diversity, the Genebanks can provide clean seed to the farmers, and it is kind of having a backup copy in between both also. But we saw in that presentation, in the part that Julian presented, that it was a nice study in the repatriation of germ repatriation or rematriation of germ plants for more than 30 years that has done SIP, that looking at the community that they receive the material, young people, they are not the ones that are motivated to conserve that diversity. So after 30 years of impact of giving back that germ plants, the old people were the ones that were taking care of those material after several years. So what can be done to motivate and to make it stronger that conservation in young people is key if we want to really.
Excellent questions. I think, yeah, we have more questions. Let's take again 2 or 3 questions and then move to the panel.
Thank you, Steph. So we are here in Colombia exploring some alternatives to improve in situ conservation and the link between ex situ and in situ conservation. So seeing the experience in Peru about the agrobiodiversity zones, I would like to ask about, from the curator's point of view, is it easier to work with farmers inside agrobiodiversity zones in front of farmers out of these zones? What advantage can represent to work with people inside agrobiodiversity zones? Thank you.
What I was going to comment on, but anyway, I have a comment and an opinion also about this. I think that the effort that Peru is making with the agrobiodiversity zones is that the communities are committing themselves to maintain that diversity forever. The issue of youth involvement and is a big issue. And what I hear, I go a lot to communities in Peru and in most recently in Colombia. Everybody wants to have jobs. Everybody wants to have opportunities to earn something. And this is something that we have, in addition to working on the, on why it's good to do this, we really need to focus very strongly in finding those options to employ and to make sure that the young generation really replaces the old one. And they don't want to work with, in the case of Peru, with chaquitaclias anymore, and they don't have to. So we have to think about that too. It is a very, very important issue because we all have jobs, and the youth don't, and this is why they go to cities, and it's not something that is attractive either. I was going to say something else that was interesting, but I just forgot, but I will continue. Thank you.
Okay, so two questions here about the youth and also about the advantage of inside, outside agrobiodiversity zones. Who wants to start?
About the the first one, I think so, is Norma said about the... what? Yeah. Every research, every person that we start working with in situ conservations know that the different strategies that we can make, we can achieve results. Restoring the diversity by repatriation, conservate in situ Genebanks, but the point of is important is the farmer. The farmer is the person who will be conserved. Even if the Genebanks exist or not, the conservation will be made by the farmer. So yes, the young people that will be the person who inherits this material have to be part of that conservation. And right now, that is the huge problem that we try to looking for the solution. Steph is still working a lot of try to attract the young people with this type of contest, or with the use of Bioscope, try to looking for a way to the young people know the importance of the conservation. But it's a very difficult topic because it's not only related to conservate, it's only from the cost of life in farmers and the onions. So from young people, right now this is not it's unattractive. So stay in the farm is for them is not an option. They prefer to move to the citizens. So right now is more a big problem from just only the research. It's a social problem. It's a national problem. So looking for a solution is our high challenge right now.
Yeah, I agree, and as Marlene was saying, it has to be profitable. We have to obtain something, and also I think all the new technologies can be related to the conservation. So young people could feel very close with the conservation, with new technologies, using the cell phones and all the things that now they are using like normal, that for us maybe was not very, but I think it's that keep this connection also with these new things that they have.
Exactly, we are trying to approach that way. So having inspirational visits, inspirational talks, challenging young communities, young people to come and train at future seats, for example, and get to know the technologies available and make them aware that what they are conserving might seem not much, but it's a huge advantage. It's their time at their moment to conserve the genetic resources. So we are trying to tackle this issue with the youth by using some new technologies that can be incorporated into the in-situ conservation.
Well, about agrobiodiversity zones, also based on conservation and sustainable use of these resources, but involve the participation of several sectors, not only the Minister of Agriculture. We also involve regional and local government, involve the Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Transportation, because to get to these regions is far away, and the ways to go there is not pavimented. So there are not the facilities, taking many hours. So we try to see as integrated also action and intervention. So several sectors, because the goal is to improve the living condition of this native community. So it's like we are seen as a global actions. So this, improvement, social economic dynamic will generate opportunities, job opportunities. So this also call the attention to youth, children, and youth people to get in, and also to help to continue with this conservation and also sustainable use to manage these resources.
That makes a really nice connection actually between youth and the opportunities of agrobiodiversity zones, no? Because also, of course, we have to think about there, like with a territorial approach, what would be the next steps, no? And I think we can learn also from other countries, like having geographical indication around an agrobiodiversity zone, promoting and documenting that, having agrotourism and links directly with chefs and creating that income, and maybe like comparing between mountainous country, like many of the mountains in other parts of the world, for example the Alps and also the Pyrenees. In the 1980s there were no young people and nobody wanted to continue in agriculture. You go to Austria nowadays, and in Austria you go to the highlands, there's many young farmers, and they have agro-ecotourism, they have local varieties. So maybe some of those models can be brought back again also to the Andes, no? And of course Colombia, with all the geographical origin of the coffee, why only for coffee? We can also maybe do that and create high-value markets for mixtures of agrobiodiversity. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Somebody asked about what is called now integrated, and it used to be called complementary conservation, I think,
Yes.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and there is an example, I think, that we should ask, too bad that they are not here, it is Ecuador, INIAP. We worked with them, actually, in Biodiversity at that time, or IPCRI even. We worked with them on a complementary conservation project in northern Ecuador. And one of the options was, and it has become successful, precisely to explore agroecotourism. We had our colleagues from Cumbal travel there to see that experience. So it would be very interesting to see over time what has happened. I know what's going on because it's there, but Cesar Tapia is not here. Yeah. Maybe we'll propose something for the Agrobiodiversity Congress to look at, or even in Peru. I don't know how that's going to be organized.
I think that's a great comment, and also I think there can be a lot of learning across the countries, and that's maybe also a question for Colombia and Peru, no? Because you're kind of evolving in parallel. How much opportunity is there to have learning between two neighboring countries, between what's happening in Peru and Colombia, and why not Ecuador as well? And also maybe a similar question also to you, Marcela. When the Alliance and CGIAR and Biodiversity came together, in my mind, I thought, well, they're going to have the best of in-situ from Biodiversity and one of the best Genebanks ex-situ from CGIAR. And I thought, like, a lot of that legacy of the in-situ and the ex-situ, that's going to be probably very actively integrated in future seeds. Is that something also that you see that will happen in the future? So I don't know.
Yeah, certainly. Actually, that's like the platform, and we want Future Seeds to become a hub, not only for the two institutions that allied, Biodiversity and also CGIAR, but also the national, because we are in the different countries, so we have materials from more than 140 countries, and definitely we want to promote the sustainable use. And how to do that is also linking with the experiences from every institution or in every country, and then adding up or adjusting to the different communities and keep building trust. I think with the communities that's crucial, and it requires time. And if one institution has already gained the trust of some communities, of course, that really helps them to also keep time and benefit from other institutions within the system. So we do have already requests from associations of farmers to have a real training on how to maintain for longer periods their seeds. And for next year, when we have everything in place already in Future Seeds, that's the first thing we will do, try to articulate together with AgroSavia. We've done once already with the cassava collection, a training course together, hand by hand. And that's the idea, to build upon the strength of every institution and finally arrive to the communities, because we cannot go alone, the in-situ and ex-situ conservation. In-situ has all the heritage from more than 7,000 years of selection and adaptation of the crops, and that needs to continue. So what we ex-situ conserve is just one photograph, one genetic picture of that variety in that moment. We will keep it, of course, as our mission, and also make it available, but evolution must continue. So we need to go hand by hand.
Excellent. And what about South-South? Colombia, Peru.
No, that's the thing that we want to do, like an Andean network. Yeah. Because we share more the difference that we have are very, very slow, very low. So I think we need to, and one of the things that we're saying, this opportunity to not just as scientists being together, but also the communities, because they are sharing most of the knowledge that they have are similar. So all the things that they can share and they can learn from each other, I think will improve their in-situ or on-farm conservation. So I think this network could be not just for the institutions of the scientists, but also for farmers, communities, and everything to maintain and keep together all this initiative.
Yes, I agree. I mean, we have this space to share experiences that we have in each country, but we can expand these strategies also to just get out of the borders. And I mean, everything is also focused on food security and improving also the livelihood of our native communities as well.
Okay, great. One more question that's on my mind all the time, just to provoke a little bit, no? But we're talking a lot about land races and cultivated diversity, no? But I think there have been great progress with land races overall. Of course, there's a lot to be done. But sometimes when it's about this in-situ, ex-situ linkage, we tend to forget about the animals, the llamas, the alpacas, the guinea pigs in this part of the world, no? And also about the crop-wild relatives and kind of how the crop-wild relatives evolve in-situ, ex-situ. Do you see any opportunities there as well to have an integrated approach?
Probably. One additional question on that, actually. Yeah. I had a mic earlier.
Yeah, we can take several questions.
We were talking about custodian farmers, and there is a competition in the world, basically, from economics, from other, and these custodian farmers are allocating their small land to conserve these genetic resources, while others are maximizing their benefit by choosing the other alternative. And is there any strategy developed probably in your country, either Peru or Colombia or whatever, to ensure the benefit of these custodian farmers? In my country, we are facing most of the custodian farmers are shifting their production system to the more profitable business, and we are losing a lot of genetic resources because of that. So that is very important. And the other, on the link of the young generation with the old generation, I think we need to do a lot because of the technology. We have technology, smartphones, everything. There is even less interaction within a household between the old and the young. And there is a loss of traditional knowledge that the old generations have accumulated in their tradition, and the young generation are not willing to inherit that traditional knowledge, and we need to, I think, join force to do something to revert this situation. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's take one more question. Yeah.
Thank you, Stefan. My name is Claudio Chiarolla, working for the Alliance with the Genebanks initiative based in Nairobi. My question for any of you who wishes to answer that is, so if there was one thing that you could ask to the ministers and the politicians, the high-level decision makers that are out here, that would help you scale up the type of support that you require to do more of the type of the great work that you are doing at the community level in linking in-situ and ex-situ, what would that thing be? And is, for example, the agro NBSAPs initiative that is being spearheaded by FAO something that you think could help, or that you're getting involved with in the revision of the National Agrobiodiversity Strategy and Biodiversity Strategy, the Action Plan, mainstreaming biodiversity through those? Is there a need to have a revised program of work on agricultural biodiversity, or what are the type of incentives and alignment for creating the type of opportunity that are necessary for people to be able to engage with this more on the long term? So what that one thing that tip the balance would be, and that would be very helpful also for us to convey that message where we can as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
So 3 very easy questions. 5 minutes left.
I will start for the last one. And the first thing that comes to my mind is funding, obviously, but also the political involvement of the ministries and all the government, because maybe we can have funding, yes, but we need also the political will, yes, to maintain this for a long time. It's not just I can have funding for 1 year and that's it. But we need like the political will to continue this conservation for a long time, because it's our food security.
Yeah, maybe related to that, it's like a plan, long-term strategy, long-term plan that also provides recognition to these custodians and become it a job, like a nursery of biodiversity for the country, for the different regions of agriculture biodiversity.
In my case, for example, the repatriation program that we made is a high cost level from Genebanks. This is not something that is very. So what we need is the governments take care of this type of programs. No, vinculate the nation with the Genebanks to try to produce this free and clean tuber material, and they distribute to the communities. Because in Peru there are more than 6,000 of different communities, and we can the request that we have is 100, and we can just only complete for a year 20 or 30. So we have not all the capacity. So we need the states, the governments involved in this type of program to restoring the diversity, to restoring the production of the farmers. That's also that we need.
Well, in the case of our biodiversity zone, also the key word is funding. At least political will, we have in the support of the Ministry of Agrarian Development and Irrigation, since each agrobiodiversity zone is recognized by a resolution, by ministerial resolution. So we have the support of them, but still funding is the key to continue all the tasks that must be done.
Okay, we have one more question in the audience, then we probably need to close, but then I wanted to briefly get also back to your question, because that's something that I've been working on for quite a while, and I'm also very passionate about. How do we keep the custodians with the right benefits? And especially for crops that are like global commodities or export crops, I think that should be relatively easy. Because, and then I refer to the Agua Pan case in Peru, which now exists for 10 years, but there's already 2 companies that have been paying since the beginning directly monetary benefits. Every year they transfer money to the custodian association, and the custodians decide what they invested in. But for the moment that model exists for potato, but I think it should be very easy for coffee or for other crops, because the companies can have a beautiful story to tell. How do the companies use it? They tell a beautiful story in their annual report, and so I think that model can be expanded as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Lily Rodriguez from Peru, and so I just want to make a comment on the link between the conservation of genetic resources in these agrobiodiversity zones and the 30 by 30, because these areas are going to be counting for the 30 by 30. And that is very important, because I think that we always establish areas because the ecosystem and because the species, but not because of genetic resources. So this is very important, and I hope that this could be a way to get also the funding. Thank you.
Last one, yeah. I think I see the 5
It's just a small comment that probably also is related, is that, and in here in the COP, is part of the conversation, financing, and is the ecosystem service. And that can be a way to get the money to really support those communities and the conservation and this type of
Especially
projects.
of the wild crop relatives, for example.
Okay, does anyone want to react to this, like a short reaction? No, no. Unfortunately, then we run out of time, so thank you all for your contributions. I think this is a fascinating topic. It was all over the COP as well these days, so I think it's really timely to learn from all the experiences that already exist. No, we're not starting from scrap. The South-South collaboration, and also gene bank to gene bank and community to community. I think that's something that we should really support. So with that, I will close this session. Thank you very much. I think we can still show the video, but that's only if you're not very hungry and you're still not thinking about going to get food. It's like a 4-minute video. Maybe yeah. Thank you. I think the sound.
Can't let them be forgotten, because all the flavor. I can't let them be forgotten, because all the flavors, I know now how to grow them, and in that way I can keep the varieties alive.
At the foothills of the central Peruvian Andes lives Esperanza Gabriel. She's a potato custodian, helping to conserve a personal collection of over 300 ancestral potato varieties.
This one is Sumasuku. Inside it has pink pulp.
Steph Dehan from the International Potato Center in Lima works with hundreds of custodians like Esperanza.
So you can almost compare them like to coin collectors or to stamp collectors. They are really important because potato custodians are basically the guardians of the traditional knowledge, and they're also the guardians of the diversity itself.
Between the two of us, we have been growing these seeds for 20 years, preserving them since the day of our wedding. Those from my husband's side and those I inherited.
There are about 4,000 varieties of native potato in the world, and most of them are grown in the Andes, while only a handful are available in supermarkets around the world.
If we don't preserve the whole genetic base of these potatoes, it would basically mean that we have no options in the future to diversify our food system. So we would be highly dependent on very few varieties, and it would make us extremely vulnerable.
Climate change is threatening global agriculture systems, making this kind of diversity an insurance policy for our future food security.
The Andean farmers where they grow potatoes is very risky. So there's a lot of disease pressure, there's a lot of hail, there's a lot of frost. And basically growing these potatoes together in mixtures is a risk avoidance strategy.
For Esperanza, the motivation is not only protecting diversity, but the simple desire to feed her family.
We grow potatoes to eat, and also for selling as well, and we keep them in storage for us to use throughout the year.
A traditional local dish is pachamanca. The potatoes are steamed underground with hot stones.
You could say that the Andean farmers are really the connoisseurs or the sommeliers of the potatoes.
My mother taught me. Now I want to teach my daughters so that they can continue cultivating the varieties.
Potato custodians have been protecting seeds for centuries, For Steph Dehan, valuing traditional agriculture is the only way to ensure biodiversity will evolve and remain available to future generations.
As soon as you put a potato in a gene bank, it becomes something static. But the farmers, it's really something that is continuously adapting. So some things are getting lost, some things are getting added. It's a laboratory that's not managed by scientists, but it's a laboratory that is basically more than 10,000 years of evolution in the hands of farmers.
This is a planet worth protecting. Tell us how you're answering the call with the hashtag #CallToEarth. This is the moment that a family of 5 Eurasian